Hello, everybody. Team, I think our team is ready to join us now. The numbers are rolling in. We're at 115 participants joining. We're going to give everybody a few more seconds to join. We're at 116. Amazing. Oh, chasing the sun here. Amazing. Yeah, I'll give it a few more minutes. As you can see, everybody, our team is joining us on screen here. And it seems like the numbers of participants has basically stopped at 116. So I think this is probably a good time. Oh, 117, 118, time to get started. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Friday afternoon for our info session for the WarnerMedia and Canadian Academy Writers Program. So bienvenue à notre séance d'information pour le programme Access Global pour scénaristes. It's great to see so many of you on the call, 118 at last count. So before we get started, let's just actually start with a lightning round of intros from some of the key awesome team members working on this program, and start with our partner, the Academy. Louis, I just introduced you.
Hey everyone, I'm Louis. Lightning quick, so I'm not going to say anything else beyond that. I'm Louis. I'm the VP of Programming and Awards at the Academy.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicole Singh. I'm the Assistant of Talent Development Programs with the Academy.
Hi everyone, I'm Ingrid. I handle marketing and communications in the Quebec office of the Academy.
And over to WarnerMedia.
I'll start. I'm Melanie Niepanak-Hadley. I'm the program director. And for one second, I thought Louis's name was Louis Lightning Quick. For 1 second, I was like, oh, is that his name? And I didn't know that. So that's just how keenly aware I am and hyper listening I am right now. So Vanessa?
Hey, I'm Vanessa Pfeiffer. Je suis Vanessa. Je suis la responsable des programmes chez WarnerMedia. I'm the program manager at WarnerMedia for our Enterprise Inclusion team.
Yay, team. And I'm Deanna. How's it going, everybody? Before we get started, we can go to slide number 4 for a land acknowledgement. Let's take a few minutes of reflection as Melanie offers that land acknowledgement for us here today.
Anin Indignikas Makwato Dem. As I mentioned, my name is Melanie Niepanak-Hadley, and my Ojibwe name is Mashkawi Ginu Ikwe. So our team is coming to you from different locations today. That being said, we want to start by acknowledging that we are all speaking from the traditional territory of many nations across Turtle Island. We recognize Indigenous peoples' innate kinship beliefs when it comes to the land, especially because those beliefs are constantly challenged. We also have to recognize that slavery happened on this land and anti-Black racism exists to this day. While the land acknowledges stolen land, we make it part of our process to recognize stolen people on stolen land. We encourage you all to go to native-land.ca to find out which traditional lands you reside and to familiarize yourself with the long-standing history of that land and your place in that history. So thank you. And with that, I'll hand it off.
Thanks so much, Mel. Really powerful words to get us started here. So as we go to the next slide, it's just a rundown of what we're doing today. So this session is going to take about an hour. We're going to spend the first 20 minutes just going through the basics of the program, how to apply, who's eligible, those sorts of details, which we have available on the website as well. And this deck will be made available to everyone as well. And so the first 20 minutes, we're going to go through that. And the last 40 minutes, or we're going to go into the Q&A. And this is one of the places where, this is a place where we're actually going to talk to the popular questions that have come up, some of the other questions that come up, and particularly the question around the personal statement. There's been a lot of conversation around that personal statement, and we want to help you guys understand what that statement is about. So we encourage you to stay tuned and just bear with us as we get through the next few slides. They'll have a lot of detail on them, but we are going to highlight as much as possible the key points before we get into the Q&A. So moving on to housekeeping. Just to give you a general idea, this is a program that is offered in English and French. So your questions, when you can write them in the chat, you can at the end ask them as well in either language, English or French, and they'll be answered in the language that you ask them in. Also, transcripts of this session are going to be made available, and translations of the Q&A will be made available. So everyone will have as much information from this session as possible. And we encourage anyone asking questions in French, please feel free and comfortable to do so. Now, moving on to the next slide. Many of you are probably asking, what's going on? Why are we here? Why do we have this program? What's WarnerMedia and Academy doing together? This is a quote from the head of inclusion and marketing and communications at WarnerMedia. And you can see here, more than ever, representation matters. But to give us a real breakdown of what that really means, I'm going to let Lewis elaborate a little bit further as we move into the next slide about, what is the objective of this program? What are the key drivers of this program? Lewis?
Thanks, Deanna. Yeah, hey everyone. Good to be here again, as I said in the intro. I'm super excited. I'll say it again. I've said it internally many times, but happy to say this publicly. Super excited to be working with WarnerMedia and our own team here on this initiative. And I'll just get right into it. Our objective for the program, it clearly stated, it's to accelerate the careers of experienced Canadian writers from underrepresented communities through WarnerMedia insider knowledge and connections. And I think that connection to WarnerMedia in particular is really what can help set this program aside from others you may see pop up on your timeline. And also I think the word accelerate is important in that sentence there. If we as institutions, the Academy and WarnerMedia, aren't actively working to correct the imbalance of opportunity that clearly benefits one group over others, then we're standing in the way of great storytelling and great stories, and also, of course, the impact that they make on our societies and cultures. So along with that, I feel, as we have written here in front of you, the key drivers, building lasting change is key. You can't, there's too much, going on with in terms of, having something start making an impact and then to have it fade away. So we place the idea of building real and lasting change in the Canadian industry as a key driver. And, beyond this program, this comes with real attention to our participants, throughout the year, what we do at the Academy, our mentors that we choose to connect with, making meaningful connections and engaging in thoughtful research when it comes to program curriculum, and just being active and devoted to change throughout the year, throughout everything we do. And of course, the last piece here on the slide, focusing on the global impact, is a key element of the program. As we write here, to connect with writers around the world, because a diversity of voices, perspectives, and experience is critical to our business, our content, and our culture of innovation. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm looking forward to the questions and the question portion of the info session. In the meantime, for a program overview, I'll pass this virtual mic over to my colleague Melanie, Program Director of from WarnerMedia.
Thanks. Now I just feel like calling you Lewis Lightning Quick. I'm sorry, it's going to stick now. It's your fault. When I look at this slide, the biggest question I wanted to answer for people was why the number of H12 applicants. We determined a smaller cohort was more manageable from a scheduling perspective, which definitely sounds self-serving, but it actually does have direct implications in the potential success of a participant. The thinking is if we have the ability to help every participant make the live sessions, they are more likely to make that connection or get that exposure that is going to be one of the contributions to their success. So we also gave flexibility in that number because we believe that enables us to adapt to the result of the adjudication process which I'm going to walk you through later, and to ensure all participants are intentionally selected. Now, the program will run virtually, which I think makes it really accessible, and will offer a combination of live and pre-recorded sessions. This is not a full-time program, and the schedule is designed to be adaptable to participants' life commitments. So the hours per week is definitely still being determined, but our planning is that the weekly time commitment will fluctuate and will be adaptable. Now, those sessions will cover writing master classes. Ultimately, we'll be reviewing other elements in relation, a lot of elements that people are aware of, but we'll be reviewing them in relation to the US market, and not listed on the side, but another element is peer support and mentorship are going to be worked into the overall program. Now, the program could bring together some familiar faces, but the focus is to bring WarnerMedia talent at the creative and at the creator and executive levels. And so much of our program, we definitely want to make adjustments to be as inclusive as possible. So we do make it our mission to make language adjustments as necessary, whether it be for a participant or who knows, maybe a presenter. So with that, I'll hand it back to, I think, maybe Nicole and Louis.
That's right, Nicole and Louis to go through eligibility. Thank you so much, Mel. That was amazing. It's hard to encapsulate that all in one slide. Yeah, Nicole and Louis, let the people know about eligibility.
Yeah, thanks. So I won't spend too much time on this, but this program is eligible for all genders and abilities and those who identify from underrepresented communities here in Canada. So as you can see there, that's Indigenous, Black, racialized people with disabilities, people from LGBTQ+ communities, and the Francophone minority communities. And you must be 19 years of age or older for this.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. And you may have seen it written that we do use the word experience in some of our materials when it comes to the credits, but we're going to unpack that a little bit in the Q&A. But for now, the way we've described eligibility in terms of credits is writers with 2 TV, film, game written by credits. And if not, if those credits aren't there for you, then the equivalent professional writing experience. But we will talk more about that. We want to err on the side of apply if you're not sure, or contact us if you're not sure. But we want to be as inclusive as possible. So yeah, that's good there.
Thanks, guys, gals, and guys. Nicole and Louis. So, and on to next. Actually, Nicole, this is you. Yeah. How to apply? You're back again. How to apply?
So applying is fairly straightforward. We are accepting all of our applications to be submitted through our online portal, which can be found on that link right there. Alternatively, you can go to the Academy's website, academy.ca, click on programming, and then you'll see our program there, and they'll take you a link straight to our portal. You must have a Gmail or a Google account in order to apply and use this portal. If you don't have a Gmail account, on our FAQs, there's some instructions on how to get one. So it's fairly straightforward there. And then the application checklist is, as a lot of you probably know already, a sample script, a personal statement, a questionnaire that asks some self-identity questions on a voluntary basis, industry experience, career goals, a resume, and a submission release form. So I know there's quite a bit of questions here, especially for the sample script and the personal statement, but again, we will dive right into it in the Q&A bit.
Great. Thanks so much, Nicole. On to adjudication with Melanie. Take it away, Mel.
Oh my God,
I'm such a game show host.
I know, and I'm like thinking I have time to like drink tea and play with my hair, and I just simply don't, you guys. I don't have time to be preening.
Hey, we are doing well. 216. I'm a little shocked actually, but we know everyone wants to get to the questions, and we want to get into those too. So it's great that we're on time. So take it away, Mel.
So in the adjudication process, what is really exciting about this section is that we're not only garnering our individual experience serving on different juries and hiring boards and things like that. But we're also drawing on the wealth of knowledge and experience that the Academy has in their work. So we're combining a lot of elements from a few different sources in hopes of creating a process that will remove some of the barriers that can sometimes exist in selection processes. So just to walk you through, it is sorry if you guys can hear that. I have to leave the door open so my dog can get in and out. But phase one is really just to confirm eligibility. The readers are doing sort of a first pass to ensure the elements of samples are there and to be evaluated by the jurors. The jurors are going to get an anonymized review, so they won't be seeing names attached to sample scripts submitted, and we're ensuring that each submission will get a few sets of eyes on it before it proceeds. And then there is the video interview section. This part is to ensure that we can help the people who make it through those various rounds. If there's a scenario in which we can accept all that make it through that round, we will, because we do recognize that we're speaking to a broad spectrum of writers with this program. But what we really wanted to do there was make definitely a section where we get to know these people who are behind these submissions. Just today, I was actually thinking we blocked a nice chunk of time to enable our readers and jurors to make decisions. But literally the second that thought formed, I was like, I've jinxed it. And now I feel like that time could potentially be used to adapt to whatever changes that come from these conversations. So this is definitely something that we've put into place, but that we are still discussing and still fine tuning and stuff like that. And I think it is also valuable to mention that the criteria are going to apply to different phases, and that's to ensure that we are able to maintain that anonymized jury, which we think is really important to this program, and that the readers and jurors are going to be a combination of people in the community that we're aware of, people that the Academy has gone to. We really do want to crack this open. We are hoping for a large amount of submissions. Oh God, jinxing us again. But we are hoping for a large amount of submissions. So it is going to be a wide variety, and there are going to be more than one set of eyes on it. And I personally am just really looking forward to seeing some of those sample scripts.
All right. Okay, thanks so much, Mel. And we'll go, yes, Nicole, it's all you again. And do you mind doing the last one as well with the contacts? Because that's
I got you.
That's a you slide too. You got two slides.
So again, I won't take up too much time here. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Our portal is currently open and it closes on the 18th at 7:59. Melanie did go over our phases of how we are doing the selection process. So if you are interested in learning about the dates for each one of those phases, it does live in our rules and regulations. So I'd recommend checking out that source of material. And that's about it really for key dates right now. I'll go on to the next slide. Okay, contacts. So really there's me. Feel free to contact me at any point if you have any questions about it. I'm happy to help. And then here are some other emails that you can reach out to if you have any technical issues or questions on content for your application. That's it.
Okay, that leads us to, thank you. I cannot believe it, you guys and gals, 2:20, and we started a tiny bit late, which is shocking, but thank you everybody on the line for hanging out with us as we went through these details. This recording will be available. We want to make sure that everybody has this this information. Okay, I'm right with that. Yeah, recording. This is going to be available. The transcript will be available. So this is not the only time you will be hearing this information or have access to this information. So thank you again. Now, onto your questions and concerns, and we're going to do our best to answer them here. For others where we don't have answers, we will follow up, and we know we were going to follow up on Monday because we know next week is the last week to apply. So keep your questions coming in. If we don't answer them, if we aren't able to answer them to your satisfaction today, we send them to us. We're going to work on them throughout the weekend and have them ready for you on Monday. We want to start off with the conversation around the personal statement. Oh, before I do that, thank you, team, for an amazing job of getting through that. Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. So to get to the personal statement, it has raised a lot of conversation, which is amazing actually for us. It's about feedback for us. I mean, we got into this thing very quickly, the Academy and our team just trying to get this out as quickly as possible. And so the concern is for people who may not know that in the industry experience section, there's a section asking for a 500-word statement at maximum, a personal statement. And it asks you about your experience in the industry. And the conversation has been around whether the personal statement is restricting applicants to submitting material that only deals with their identity, is only informed by identity, or if it also restricts applicants from working on a projects in the program that is only that is only informed by their own identity or how they identify. Our short answer is no. We want all genres. We want all formats. We do not, I would not want to write a Black woman story. Like, I may not always want to write a Black woman story, okay? I may want to write about sci-fi or architecture or something, but I'm not a writer, I'm not creative. But yeah, that's the short answer. It's tricky because the short answer is no, but here's the thing with that question. We actually want to get to know you. We want to know who's applying and what your experience has been in the industry in terms of a whole bunch of things. So we want to get to know you, but we understand the concerns about feeling restricted to that. We want to tell you that we are not restricting your material to who you are. You bring yourself to a project, who you are does not define like what your script material is going to be. And the long answer is, and I'll stick to the script on this one, the personal statement is in the experience section and is not directly related or meant to textualize the script that you submit. The sample that you submit can be any genre or format, romance, sci-fi, action, any subject matter. It is a sample of your best work. The personal statement section is an opportunity, and thank you, Mel, for writing this so eloquently, and making all these points. The personal statement is an opportunity to contextualize equivalent experience. So we ask for, writers with two written by credits, but also this program is open for people who have the equivalent professional experience. And why we want to contextualize equivalent experience, there may be some scenarios where you didn't have the, you don't have the experience you want, but this is a place to talk about why you may not have those two writing credits, or why maybe you're a playwright and you want to talk about that and how that's informed your experience. So it's about your lived experience. It's also about your work experience. And here's the option. If you do not want to answer, you don't have to do that. But we're interested in also knowing why you wouldn't want to answer, because that helps inform us going forward about this question. Maybe we need to write it in a different way. So that's the kind of short and long of that. I hope that kind of helps people understand that we are looking for writers to submit their best work. It does not have to be informed specifically by their identity. It can be anything. And when you're in the program, you can write about anything that you would like to write about. So hopefully that helps. I don't know, team, if you wanted to jump in there.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I think that's, Anna, I love that you went through some of the things and the points that we'd sort of discussed. I think there's one thing I would like to say, and it's maybe a bit about my own experience, which I know you guys, I just love taking up space. But I'll say, the questions about my indigeneity gut me, or still gut me, because they happen all the time. And they make me feel like an outsider. They make me feel like an imposter, or worse, they make me feel like a giant check mark in a box to make somebody else feel good or feel right. But the bottom line is it does sometimes shade my value. And for me, that feeling is not completely gone away. It's, part of my burden, I guess, or rather our burden, is that because we're not from a represented group, we will never not have to answer questions about identity. So, but if I can be so bold as to ask to find a way for you to answer that question if it comes up in any scenario, not outside this application, because I hope Deanna was able to contextualize this particular field, but if it comes up in any question, I'm personally asking and pleading for you to find a way to answer it that is as painless for you as possible, because I've had a bit of a journey myself, and I definitely still feel it as a burden, but I also see it as a superpower because I'm intrinsically aware of the we that I come from. And all of a sudden, all of my work does have a slightly deeper purpose sometimes. And working as an underrepresented person in predominantly white spaces does not get easier. It doesn't get easier, but we get smarter. And if we continue to operate from a smart place and share our best practices in navigating situations in which we are triggered, hopefully those changes will make it different for the next generation. So I did just want to say that it felt like an appropriate time.
Absolutely, beautifully said. I don't know if there's anyone else on the team who would like to address that question. It's good. Okay, so if so, we will go to, I believe, the questions that are in the chat. And
So,
I'll hand it over to Vanessa.
I just want to, I'll just pass them over because we've got lots of questions coming in. So I'll flag them to either Deanna or Mel as they come in. So let's just start with the first question. I think there are a few other people who've asked this. Do the projects we bring forward have to appeal to US audiences? Are Canadian stories at a disadvantage? I'll pass this over to Mel.
Oh, can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. Do the projects we bring forward have to appeal to US audiences? Are Canadian stories at a disadvantage? This is from Aisha Marjara. Pardon me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly.
That is an interesting question. And I do think it is this thing that we've been told is that our Canadian stories might only be relevant in a specific space, or we have to contextualize them. And I think that what's a part of this program is that we are going to definitely be helping you figure out what's the human experience. It's going to transcend the Canadian border. So I think part of the evaluation process is assessing where you're at in your career. We want to just take a look and see, do they have the skill set, but maybe not an ability to position their project in its most attractive way. We're not looking for everyone to come in having all the answers, but do they have the tools in their kit, and how through the program can we activate them and synthesize all those things so that they get to the next level, and then they can sell their, Kenora-based project anywhere in the world or whatever, right? So if anybody else on the team has anything they'd like to add.
I just want to throw in one thing about that, just like the specificity of your, great storytelling is great storytelling. And WarnerMedia, I mean, we're really fortunate with this opportunity because WarnerMedia consists of so many brands. We're talking HBO, WBTV, Stage 13. I mean, the list is kind of endless of the different outlets of opportunity here. And so really all stories are welcome, and all stories have an equal kind of opportunity of poking through if they're great stories told well and crafted well. And that's definitely a sentiment I think we want to leave, is that all stories are welcome.
Exactly. And the thing is, guys, let's not forget, and ladies, and all genders, I'm still learning. Let's not forget that WarnerMedia is here investing in storytellers. They wouldn't do it. They could do it from the States, right? They don't have to come here and set up a team with 2 Canadian gals. They could have set it up with someone from the US that doesn't actually know, doesn't actually know the market, doesn't actually know the people. So think about that, right? That, they've chosen 2 people who are from here. We are that connection between what their objectives in terms of global meeting, like the hunger and the demand for stories, like the global demand for stories from all over the world. We know that people are watching anything and everything, and they know that to be competitive, and this is the way the market is, right? So this is different. This is different from perhaps maybe the experiences you've had in other programs. So.
Are we good to go to the next question? Okay. So would a writing credit from a digital series be eligible? Either Mel or Deanna, you want to?
This is definitely one we've talked about to great extent. And I think what we've landed on, and I am always open to being corrected, but I think what we landed on was definitely to accept the web series, just because a lot of them end up going through the rigorous process that even commercially released projects go through. So if you have a web series, you can definitely count it towards your credits.
Great, thank you. Next question. Should titles of existing work we have made not be included in the personal statements in order to maintain anonymity?
Totally. And I think that that is part of that sort of reader pass and internal eligibility. I think we're going to do whatever we can to anonymize them. I had been on anonymized juries before, and there are elements that we can redact. I think if it compromises the integrity of what you're putting forward, we would definitely be open to contacting the participant. But it's one of those things where I think we'll have to see what those look like redacted when we get there.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, I'm just filtering through here. So we did, okay. The website says the sample script needs to be in an area you want to work in. Is the program segregated? I get the sense there are less people who only write features or only write TV.
I don't know, Mel, do you want to answer that? I mean,
I feel so bad. I feel like I'm just like, oh, let me take up all the space.
Well, the thing is, for us, we know that Canadian writers have a lot of different skills, very, very versatile, right? Be able to write for TV and film and kids and all sorts of things. We know that that's the reality in Canada. I'm going to hand it over to Mel because I know she's just bursting to answer this, but that's my short answer. Mel?
Well, and I think it's like part of it is that we want to ensure we're seeing your step into the world you want to go into. So that's one element of it. Another element of it is that when you're in the program, there are things that are in other worlds that may end up informing some of the, so if you want to write, let's just say you're like, I want to write half-hour comedy forever and ever. And then in one of the other sessions that maybe is speaking to someone who writes for games, if we should have a successful applicant in that field, we have a session for them. You're going to be part of that. And maybe something said in there will actually help enrich your work as a half-hour comedy. So there's, like Deanna said, a lot of people in the Canadian industry end up being quite nimble and end up having to be a bit of a jack of all trades, especially underrepresented people. But I think it's also like, it's going to open you up to be potentially experiencing things slightly outside of the area of focus. But we really want to see your first step into that world. You're not tethered to it, though. You're definitely not tethered to it.
Thank you. That's a great answer. I'm going to go to the next question regarding eligibility. Do the two written credits need to have aired already, or can they be airing in the future?
Oh my God, I would love to see something that's airing in the future. But no, yeah, for sure. I think if they are not, but there is a scheduled release for them, they can definitely count. I think that that's actually going to be the reality of a lot of the applicants, because there has been an uptick in more inclusive writing rooms and things like that. So yeah, I think that would suffice, unless any of my other, no, looks like we're all in agreement.
I just want to, because we're getting a lot of questions coming also in the chat. So I'm just going to remind people if they could try and remember to put the questions into the Q&A portion. It's just a little easier to manage. And Louis, do you want to handle, there was one question about jury, I'm sorry.
Yep.
About our jury, do you want to go for that?
There. Yep. Just to repeat the question, sorry, I find it. How will the jury seek to represent the diversity of the submissions received, diversity of the jury, etc.? I like these questions because this is something at the Academy that we talk about on a daily basis. Juries and the strength and the composition of our juries, and I say strength when you have a diverse jury, I consider it strong. We run several other programs at the Academy, and we have examples of where you see direct results from a strong jury. And I would point to the MVP project, Music Video Production Program project, which has roving juries. There's no such thing as a juror for life or anything like that. You jump on, you review the material based on the criteria we give you. We trust you as a juror. You're a professional. We came to you for a reason. And once you've looked at that material, you put your scores in. And, you know, without that diverse jury, you'll never, ever get a diverse list of recipients. And so this, as I said, is one of the most important things that we do. And we will continue to do that for this program.
Thank you so much, Louis. So I'm just going to move back to the questions coming in the Q&A, and we're getting a ton of questions, which is amazing. I just want to make sure to let you know that if for some reason we don't get to your question, we're going to review everything and provide answers to these questions in our FAQ section, and we'll get you answers, I promise you. So from Melissa Mark, will applicants who don't move forward to the next phase be notified that they haven't?
For sure. I think that we're figuring that out, how that actually, to be honest, it's going to also, how it looks is going to depend on how many applicants come through. But the bottom line is, and Deanna and I talk about it all the time, is that when people hear no, especially from underrepresented communities, it can be really devastating. So, or don't hear anything at all, it can be really devastating. So we definitely want to send a response. Definitely at that time, we might have more information about our other programs, which we'll be sharing. But yeah, we are definitely wanting to get a response to everybody. What it looks like though, we'll see.
Great. Then for Deanna, can you answer this question? How will the mentors be selected? So it's a little different than the jury.
Oh my gosh, mentors. I mean, it depends on the applicants, right? We look at who's coming in, who's been selected, and it's a matchmaking process. Our program won't start until June, and so when we see who are the finalists that are selected, that's the easiest way. Oh no, that's the best way for us to see who would be best matched with that individual participant, or the groups of participants as well. So we can't say that from like right now. We are talking to a lot of people who will want to be mentors, definitely, and they're WarnerMedia people, amazing executives and creators. But it's once we see that selection of finalists, that's going to really help us to really make that matchmaking magical. Thanks.
Thanks, Tiana. Je vais prendre une question en français de André Roy. La question, c'est description du matériel. Qu'est-ce que vous cherchez au juste? Ou expliquer l'idée où nous sommes rendus dans le projet proposé. Donc, juste pour clarifier, le scénario modèle qui fait partie de la soumission, ça peut être n'importe quel scénario que toi, tu as écrit exclusivement. Et donc, c'est vraiment pour démontrer que vous avez maîtrisé le métier. Et donc, mais si vous êtes choisi et sélectionné comme finaliste, le projet que tu vas développer dans le programme, c'est vraiment, c'est à toi de choisir. Et dans notre période de consultation, on va parler avec toi et discuter tous les opportunités potentielles dans le programme. Et c'est à toi de décider comment agir. J'espère que ça répond à votre question. OK. Excuse-moi. Back to Patricia Chica, we have, do we need to have a first draft already done to apply, or can it be a treatment? Mel, do you want to feel that one?
Yeah, I think we definitely want a first draft. We want a script in some form. We had talked about, we do have an official response on accepting maybe partial scripts, and it's certain elements of that script need to be established in whatever partial version you send. But I think for scripted, like if you wanted to pursue 1 hour dramas, for example, I don't believe we would be taking treatments at this time, but I'd be interested to open the floor up. Anybody has any other input on it?
I don't know if I want to have input at this point. I don't think my thoughts are fully formed. So I have thoughts.
But another thing I would say to people who are in process right now is that this is our first run. Like Deanna and I and Vanessa and the two people who are going to be joining our team, they have a full plate because we are going to be running other versions of this writers program with the Academy. So this will not be your only opportunity. And we're also figuring out what do those other initiatives look like. Once we get those applications and we start to see who's out there, I think that there'll be this moment of us being like, whoa, I mean, I hope there'll be this moment of us being like, whoa, what else can we do to speak to this group of people that came through? So I just really, really want to reiterate, like, submit what you can, if you feel comfortable, but no, this is not your only opportunity to know us.
Amazing, thank you. Sorry if I'm typing, if you're hearing like clackety clack,
We're so used to that.
So I'll go to Gloria Kim. With writing samples, can one of them be a short that's been on TV? Thanks so much.
For sure. I guess it would be probably just wanting to understand, hi Gloria, wanting to understand what makes that your best work. I mean, although it could be a scenario where we see it and we know why, but yeah, I would say we're definitely open to that.
Okay, great. Next is Alan Hopkins. Can you talk about what you mean about applicants needing to go for a global reach in their projects? Can you define what you mean by global?
Okay, global is global. What's exciting about this initiative that it comes from WarnerMedia and joining the Academy is that, look, it's about our content reaching audiences around the world. And we want to open up that opportunity. And I think one of the difficult things perhaps for, and Mel, or anyone else on the team, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things that we hear from creators is like, I feel like I have to only create in this bubble for this Canadian Canadian industry, which means I only can do this, I only do that. The exciting thing about opening that up beyond our Canadian borders and having a vision of the audience that looks like the world, it kind of liberates you to think in bigger terms. And it's what I've heard from creators is like, I want to make big stories. It's hard to make big stories here, with all kinds of cast and crew and like budgets and kind of crazy weird things and mashups and of all kinds of ideas. So when we say global, it's about thinking bigger than how we've been expected to think in the industry, generally speaking. So I hope that answers the question.
Amazing, thank you. Je vais prendre une autre question en français de Laura Bergeron. Bonjour, pouvez-vous donner un exemple concret du modèle de scénario requis pour le dépôt? S'agit-il d'un scénario qui n'a pas été produit, que nous souhaitons développer, ou s'agit-il d'un exemple de travail antécédent? Merci. Donc, Laura, oui, effectivement, tu peux soumettre un scénario qui n'a pas été produit. Ça peut être quelque chose un projet que toi, tu travailles, tu développes. On veut vraiment pour le modèle, pour la soumission, on veut vraiment voir votre travail qui démontre que vous avez maîtrisé le métier. Donc, j'espère que ça répond à votre question. Merci. Next, I will go to, sorry, I'm trying to filter with lots of questions. As a writer, okay, as a writer-director, I wonder if you will also have a directing initiative. Deanna, do you want to just talk about that a little bit?
I literally was just reading all the Q&As. Okay, so sorry, the question about, there's going to be a directing initiative? You betcha. We are coming out the gate this year with the writers program to make sure that, basically to come up with one program, because it's a handful. And we're learning a lot from this program and this first year. And the next year, stay tuned, people. In the fall, we're going to be launching year 2 of the writers program and year 1 of the directors program. And that'll be the case going forward. So yes, directors, stay tuned.
Deanna, I love how before the call you literally said, you're like, I'm not going to say stay tuned, I swear to God.
No, I know, it's so bad. It's like I've been watching too much 1970s TV.
No,
Not that I was there. I wasn't there though.
Do it, own it.
So I'm going to go to a question from Patricia Cullen, submission regarding their submission release form. Use of material clause. Can you further explain if our work needs to be copyrighted by some process prior to submitting, or do the copyright laws in Canada protect our work?
Yeah, that's a bit tricky. The copyright laws in Canada protect your work, and essentially all it is you're allowing us to review it. It is like, we did try to make something that was really industry standard in terms, so like, you know, at my past employer, we had a submission release form. I think this is definitely in line with that. It doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to have a formal rights holder if it is something that you've created. Essentially what we really did want to do though is make it so that this was something that the writer had written. I don't know, Vanessa, I feel like this was one that you ended up having to stick handle quite a bit, so you might be more.
Oops. So just to reiterate though, yeah, the submission material, we are only using it to review, to Mel's point. Like this is, we have no claim to your project. Once finalists are selected, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating what Mel just said, but I was reading some other stuff. So normally I hang on her every word. But yeah, so if you submit something, this is just for the review process, and we have there's no claim to your work or anything like that. But the project that you develop in the program, there will be a new agreement signed with participants regarding that if you're selected. I hope that answers the question. Sorry, I'm going back and forth to the chat. Let's just see. Okay, Kristen Lambie. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that again. What defines equivalent experience, education, mentorship, independent projects?
I mean, to me, the equivalent experience is
it's writing experience, equivalent professional writing experience.
But it's like, it doesn't have to, you don't have to have been the writer if you were a consultant on stories, or if you were, a lot of us end up in these situations where we're not the like leader and we're not doing the thing, but we have been in those rooms where that's happening. So whatever that role is, and we didn't, you know, originally I think we had listed a bunch of positions, but I was like, you know, we're going to get into a situation where we'll never capture all the positions that potentially has enabled somebody to understand the story component of a project. And so whatever your equivalent experience it is, we would love to see or get an understanding of how you were contributing to a story. It doesn't have to be your story, but it's like what's your understanding of the craft of writing and you know, the craft, I think, of storytelling. I think that hopefully covers it.
Great. Yeah, and I'll just jump in quickly to say that was great, Mel. I think that's exactly right. And I would warn against sort of self-regulating in this situation. Like don't think, you know, oh no, I you know, don't have the credits, don't only did a story consulting thing on this. You know, just, as I said before, when in doubt, please contact us or apply. You know, we're really good at getting back to people. I like to say that we have, you know, amazing customer service in that respect, I guess, for lack of a better way to call it. But yeah, that's all. I'll just add that, just, you know, err on the side of applying.
That's such a great point, Louis. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think as people from underrepresented communities, we're afraid, we don't think that people will want to see our work. And we just say, what is our motto? Just apply, just do it. Just get it out there. Gosh darn it, you know, it's not going to hurt you. So just apply. That's actually, Mel, is that your line?
Oh, maybe.
I think just apply.
I'm not gonna
That's our, so if you have lots of questions in your head, you know what? Talk to us, ask us questions, but just apply.
So the questions keep rolling in here. Thank you for hosting. This is from Gabrielle Zika. Thank you for hosting this session. 2 questions if possible. If we have writing credits in a documentary, is this considered eligible? And number 2, is the jury representative of all communities that this fund seeks to support? So Lewis did answer question number 2 a little bit earlier, and that's a really key priority for us. And I'll just quickly field this. For a documentary, yes, that is considered eligible. So please apply. So moving on to the next question from Sharon Lee. Will all 8 to 12 participants go through the same curriculum, or is that a one-to-one type of program where each writer is paired with certain mentors based on their needs? Great question, and I will pass it over to Mel.
No, go Dee. I saw you.
Oh, no, you know what? It's so Family Feud-y. Who's gonna answer? No, I'm gonna do one line, and Mel, you know, she always has the great details in there. And you know, one of the things that we did when we met, we talked about this program and all the things we went through in this industry. We talked about things that are important, our key core values, and one of those things is community. You know, building the community is there, obviously, but making sure that we are building that component into the program. Mel, do you want to continue with add your brilliant points?
For sure. And I think it is a bit further to what I mentioned earlier. That's great. Such a great point, Deanna. It is this business of the cohort that we have. We want them to be experiencing, we do want them to all be having the same experience in terms of those writing master classes, some of those other elements of preparing for the US market, because you just never know when that material is going to be valuable. And you just never know what connection or meeting you could have in those sessions that might actually end up helping you, if not now, maybe in the next project you're on. So we do want to try to make it so that those people are attending all of them, even if they're sidestep out of the world that they're in. But I think that the other element, and sorry, I actually can't see the question anymore, but there was another aspect to that question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Sharon's question. All right. In terms of the mentors, we are definitely putting a lot of thought and intention between the selected participants and the mentors that they get. We're not gonna be in a situation where you're all getting one mentor. We are definitely really gonna do what we can to make sure that you're paired with somebody that is gonna help you get to that next level, whatever that level is. And that's actually what I love about the overall timeline of the program that, again, is still being worked out. But one thing that we talked about, I mean, I don't know whose brilliant idea it was. It certainly wasn't mine, but it was the business of having, it was Vanessa's. It was the business of having an assessment period between when they go through the video interviews and are selected to when the program starts. There's about a month in there, and we want to be meeting with people. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to hear about their experience thus far through the application process, but also to hear about their goals, what they want to be doing. And then that's going to really inform who we're matchmaking them with. And that's also going to inform a lot of the elements of the curriculum. A certain portion of it will be locked, of course, by then, but there's a bunch of it that's still malleable, which I think is great because it's definitely going to make a bespoke experience for some of these participants.
It's great and scary, which we love.
I just really quickly want to go back because, again, there are like loads of questions here, but I don't want to leave anything out. And this touches back on the question that we opened up with regarding the personal statements. I do want to go back to this and just make sure that we're answering this. So part of the issue for me is less about statement pigeonholing you into only submitting certain content, but more about the fact that asking of the question is potentially re-traumatizing, and it puts people in a position to have their traumas compared with each other's. I'm interested to know how the answer to this question is influencing the decisions, and how does it not turn into a contest of who has suffered more?
That is such a valuable perspective. I mean, I think that is for sure not what we want to be doing. It's really to contextualize some of those things in your experience, right? You know, I mentioned earlier, you might not have been the writer on a project, but what did you do that contributed to that? Now, there is an element in there about how your underrepresented perspective maybe has enriched or held you back in your career. And I think it is what you make it. If that's not something you're ready to talk about, don't talk about it. The evaluation of that element is not going to be about who, and it might not even be relevant. What people are going to be looking at is the script. It's really to see, does this person have some of those tools they need? And we're not at all evaluating your voice or perspective. So do not re-traumatize yourself if you don't have to. If there's an element of your career that you want to talk about, even just anecdotally, that you think has greatly informed your life. I mean, my dad always tells this hilarious story about how I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, and that's why I'm a big windbag now, because I'm constantly trying to make up for those few minutes I didn't breathe and didn't talk early in life. So love that. But it's like, just do whatever you want in that space, make it your own, but absolutely do not re-traumatize yourself. Do not revisit anything that you don't need to. And further to my comment off the top, I encourage you, though, to find ways to navigate that space that doesn't harm you, because I think that it's valuable to bring those perspectives forward in necessary situations in a way that doesn't hurt you. So, but yeah, don't re-traumatize yourself, please.
You're on mute, V.
So let's go to Marnie Van Dyke. Does the project we apply with form the focus of our work in the program, or is it more of a sample to determine voice POV? So I think we've answered that, but we can reiterate. Mel, if you want to take that, and a few other people asked that question as well.
I'm sorry, repeat the question. I feel like
Oh, I'm sorry. Is the project that we apply with, so the submission material, is that the focus of our work in the program?
No, actually, and that's what I love about the application is nowhere in there are we saying, hey, what do you want to write? Like, what's the treatment of the script you want to write? Because ultimately, and I could be speaking for myself, I don't care. I almost swore, but I didn't. Kept it real profesh, guys. We don't care. I don't care. What I want to do is create a space for you to get all your tools in place and figure out how to execute your dream idea, whatever that may be, to the best of the abilities that you can. And then once you do that, I hope that we've shown you a bunch of avenues and ways that you can take that project and get it off the ground, or hopefully use it to get yourself a sustainable job in this industry. So nope, we don't care what you want to, if you want to come in here and write your space opera, like that's great, do that.
Amazing. So many great questions. So do sold features and TV series but not yet produced count as equivalent experience? Yes, we've established that. So that's answered. Follow-up question from André Roy. Est-ce qu'on doit fournir un résumé de l'histoire? Est-ce qu'on explique la démarche ou le contenu de l'histoire? Non, on cherche simplement un modèle scénario. C'est vraiment notre manière d'évaluer votre maîtrise du métier. Okay. How did you determine which groups, communities were underrepresented? From Amita Zaman.
We are very keen on being data-driven and evidence-based in everything that we do. And for determining those groups, it's from looking at the data, looking at the stories, looking at the reports that have the many, many reports that have come out about which groups are underrepresented in the industry. There are so many reports, it's unbelievable. There's so many amazing Canadian reports that really go down into the details and break out the various communities. So we can see, it's like with everything else, right? Data is so important so we can direct resources to where the areas that are, where the issue is most acute. We say that all the time. Where is it most acute? We're almost like in the triage business. I hate to say that, but it's like when you go to the hospital, the person having a heart attack is gonna get, seen before someone who has, something less than that. And it's not, so when we look at the evidence and the data, which is so important, and the report and the individual stories that have been collected. There's a great report from Real World that came out this summer. Women in View has an amazing report about women and how the barriers look very, very different for different groups. That informs everything. That informs what we do, and the stories, the qualitative stories that people tell us as well. And anyone else wants to jump in?
Well, I think it's like further to the business of, this is our first program. This is the focus for the first program based on the information that Deanna just walked us through, the thinking that she walked us through. And I think if after this first run of the program, or even as we gear up for the director's program, different data or different information from the industry, or even from our own call with this application proves to be true to us, we are definitely open to adapting it. Being adaptable is, you know, one of our core values. We always, almost to my disdain, leave a bit of space to pivot should we need to serve the community in the best way possible.
Thank you so much, ladies.
So guys, we're at 3:02, by the way. So
I don't have a whole lot of questions, so I'm fine to continue if everyone else is, until we can at least get through a bulk of these. Is that okay? I'm just trying to find some of these have been answered, and I'm gonna get to them. I'll respond to you in the chat. Is there a way to submit scripts to Warner outside of this program? So I'll let Deanna field that one.
Me answer that? That's a Vanessa question.
Okay, do you want me to answer?
Yeah, you're the Warner lady.
Basically, we are not a conduit for you know, getting your scripts in front of people outside of this program. We're really focused on the initiatives at hand. That's our role, that's our responsibility. So no, there's I mean, you can, if you have the means and you have you're always welcome to you know, take your own steps to do that, but that won't be something that's offered through this program. Thank you. So next question. Can we apply with a couple of samples or send 2 applications, 1 script per application? That's a new question. Mel or Deanna, do you want to take that?
Well, the question is to submit 2 applications with 2 different scripts. Well, we're going to say 1 script, 1 application per applicant. And we're asking for your best. So your best would be the top most, like your best. There's only 1 script that is your best and that you feel is your best. And so we're taking 1 application from each applicant. I don't know, because I didn't even think of that question. So,
but I know there are lots of coming in there.
I was like, oh, wow. Because I think we'd have 10,000 applications.
Brain busters. Let's shut her down. I'm just kidding.
Mind is going. Okay. Thank you for that question, though. Like, I mean, one of the things I think about, like, everyone who applies and everyone in the community, they're stakeholders in this project. They help inform us and make sure that the project is, as Mel and everyone else has said, is responsive, is adaptable, and reflects the community. Thanks for that question.
Can I reapply with a project that was rejected before, but that is tremendously more advanced now? I'm assuming this question means, because we're running this program for 3 years. So if you applied this year with a project, if you applied this year and submitted something and then didn't get in, can you reapply with the same project the following year if you've been working on it? Of course, yes, most definitely. Sorry, I just took that one. I'm still a little confused about the sample. It should be the best example of your work, not necessarily something you're working on right now. Yes, the best example of your work. It can be completely separate from what you work on in the program, or it can be the same thing. We're really leaving it up to you to use your best judgment about how this reflects your skill as a writer.
Again, I think that I'll just jump in and just that has a lot to do with the bespoke element of the program. I mean, I can see where there's some confusion here because it won't be the same for every person. If your best work is something that's already been produced, it's already aired, you feel like it's ready to go to the jury or to the readers, like that, then that's fine. But you may have your best work that hasn't aired yet. You may have your best work that you want to tweak that hasn't aired yet as part of the program. So it's very dependent on who you are, what you've done with that piece of work. So I can understand the confusion there.
Great. Here's a question from Andrew C. Outside of the sample script, how do we illustrate our drive for global reach in the 500 word? Is it in the 500 word statement?
Sorry, V. Oh, I didn't really hear that question.
Oh, so Andrew is just asking, outside of the sample submission, how do we illustrate our desire to reach global audiences? Is it in the personal statement, or like what are we looking for when we say that?
Well, I think too about some of the projects that people inherently write in Canada, and they're sometimes writing like a thing. If it isn't a piece of work that's already been created, sometimes they do this thing where they'll put a lens of what can I do in this that will help it get created. So I think it's like, if it's something that hasn't been made yet, hasn't been produced, I would not necessarily, if there's things that you changed about the script to maybe make it for a specific buyer, change it back, make it what you wanted, originally intended it to be. Don't be limited by anything. Because when we look at these, we're not looking at them for like, could this be made this year? Like, we're not evaluating them in that way. We're looking at them to assess your skill. So there's an element there that can speak to global success, but also I think that sometimes in people's CVs, you can see that there's elements that could potentially come through there in terms of whether it be volunteer work or whether it be other projects that they've participated in, different things like that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so sorry if this has been discussed already, but what does the program actually look like aside from the one-on-one mentorship? Are there opportunities to work with others in the cohort, practice pitching, reading each other's work, or is it purely an individual focused program?
No, I think it's going to be a really nice combination of both. Actually, in the curriculum sort of summary and time and shape that we've been working on right now includes weekly sessions that are group sessions, but it's also going to include making note of peer-facing time, mentorship time, and then encouraging people to manage their own time to get their deliverables to a state that they can be showcased early in 2022. So it's going to be a nice combination of things. And I think one thing that we always practice, we're practicing it right now with this information session, is that we try to make an avenue for people to come and say, like, this isn't working for me. You don't even have to know why it's not working for you, but just say, like, this element's not working for me. We'll definitely adapt it because we want to be making an environment that's going to help you realize every aspect of your excellence and seize every opportunity that may present itself.
Great, thanks, Mel. We have a question from Boris Rodriguez. If you have already been selected and participated in other diversity and inclusion initiatives in either Canada or the US, for instance, the CFC Netflix Accelerator or NBC Universal's Writers First program, could this count against your candidacy? Not at all. You are welcome to apply. Thank you.
Yes, even though you've got involved with others, we'll still accept you.
So we have another question here from Tariq Kayami. As primarily a director, I try not to apply to programs that are for writers. I don't want to take away from their career goals, but this initiative is a little confusing because it's so wide open. So are you training writers, or as a writer director of films, I can apply with intention of getting a TV show idea off the ground? Mel or Deanna, you want to take that?
I definitely will say we're not training writers, because this is not a program for people who are just starting out. It's for writers who have some experience. It's more like we're exposing them to the WarnerMedia way of doing certain things, and the kinds of opportunities to connect with, writing across various genres. But we wouldn't call it a training program. It's more like exposure and to opportunities and access to WarnerMedia, I think, best practices and people and ideas. That's my part. That's the only part. So what's the rest of the question? Mel, did you want to jump in? Anyone? What's the rest of the question? Will there be?
I mean, I would.
Where's the? Sorry.
Oh, I put it as done, but
Okay.
I would just jump in and just say that I think writer directors are more than welcome to apply. It's really what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Because we are going to have a directors initiative coming up, but yeah, just apply.
Well, I think it's like just apply if it's easy for you. I think if you're feeling conflicted about it, I'm like we are going to have a director's program and then we're going to have another writer's program. So like, do not enter. I'm like, just apply, but also like, don't apply if you don't want to.
So I think a lot of these have actually been, will the mentors be paid? I don't know if you actually mean the participants selected for the program, or does anyone want to?
Well, if it's about the participants, there will be support for the participants in the program. Absolutely, that's for sure. There will be support for them. We can't say right now what that will be, but it is actually quite generous. Mel, are you jumping in?
If submitting a feature, do we need to send in the entire screenplay, or would you prefer to just see 30 or so pages? And I'll just kind of connect this with another question that had come in about submitting partial scripts. Can I pass that over to Mel?
Yeah, sure. I think you can submit whatever section of that script. We will definitely take a feature. I feel like Vanessa's going to be reading features that come in just for her own fun. Like we always want people to feel like they can submit their feature, even if it is a mammoth. But if you want to submit a partial version, you can. There are elements of that story though that will, like in terms, it's not necessarily a page count for us. For us, it is, we want sort of main characters to be established, the setting. I think we actually have a list in our listed questions. I'm having a problem navigating between windows. So if there's anything else from the team that they want to add, but it isn't a specific page count. It really has to do about what is established in the partial version you send.
Great, thank you.
I think that's exactly it. And I think, just keep in mind, I think for all of these types of programs, keep in mind that, there is this evaluation part of the program. And, if you feel truly like someone will be left hanging and not have that full information with the sample, don't send the sample for the purpose of being, for the purpose of brevity. You go put the whole thing forward. And I think that that's a really important thing to remember, that you don't want that juror or that committee member to say, well, maybe you do want to leave them on edge. I don't know. It depends. If they're at the end of the script, they should be on edge. Let's just put it that way.
Great. There are a couple of questions coming in about the weighting of the evaluation process. So I'll just read this one. Would it be possible to share details regarding the weighting of each aspect of the evaluation criteria? How much percentage is each area weighted as in the jury evaluation? Mastery of craft, strength of experience, drive for global success, unique and authentic perspective.
Well, I think what is not clear there, and it's because it's very much in a working progress, is that those are just representative of actually questions that we're posing the jury. So one of them is like, is it clear who the lead character is? To me, that's a mastery of craft question, right? So those are very much a work in progress. I think that might be a question that we will have to come back to the community on. But I can say that we are definitely aware of the fact that all of those criteria won't apply to every phase. And some of it actually will come through in that video interview when we meet these people face to face. I will say that there is an emphasis on seeing if in the sample that they send in, that the writers have a general knowledge, an understanding of how a script is put together or how a story is put together, depending on what you submit for your sample. But I think that's where I think the largest emphasis is for WarnerMedia anyways. But I think we can probably figure out some verbiage that might give people a bit of comfort in terms of which elements are important where in the phases that we outlined today.
Thank you. This I'm actually going to pass either to Louis or Nicole. There's somebody asking, how can I become aware of the director's program notification or application deadline once it comes up?
Go ahead, Nicole. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can take this. So I think what I would recommend is just maybe sign up for the Academy's newsletter, because we are putting all of our updates and things in there and just letting everyone know what's coming up in deadlines, and also through social. So yeah, that would be my answer to that.
There's another question going back to the director's program as well. Somebody's asking if they were accepted into the writer's program and then applied for the director's program, would there be a conflict there?
I don't know if we've actually thought that through. I don't think we've thought that through. So I think that's one of those questions I don't know if we can answer actually right now. Does that work for everybody else? Is that so? So we'll, yeah, we haven't actually thought that through, which is why we love these questions, because it helps us think through the program and the processes and all these kind of things. So what we'll do is we have that noted. We're going to chew on that, and we'll get back to you on Monday with a response. I hope that's okay.
So I have another question. Can rejected applicants get feedback as to why they were rejected and how to improve their submission for next time?
Mel, I say yes. You know what? We are about building the community. We know how hard it is to be when you don't get into a program or you apply for a role, a job, and you don't get any feedback. And we know we're scared about the hundreds. We're not scared. We're encouraged about the hundreds of application will be coming through. But you know what? We're here to help build people up too. That's so important to us. So yeah,
I think it's like, I think in the perfect world, we would be able to give everybody individual feedback. But I think if we end up with a humongous number of applications, it might be a situation where we have like potentially an info session and we capture some of the common maybe misconceptions or common spots where maybe applicants didn't make the cohort, right? That might be an area. So the bottom line is we want a community build, but it's like, how does that look? I hate to be like, we'll see, because that's the first stay tuned, but it's a commitment of ours to definitely be giving back to the community in a way that helps them continue to build on applications like this and experiences like this.
And just to say, oh, sorry, go ahead, Louis. I have nothing more to say, although I was just going to fill in some hair.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up there exactly the same. You know, you're both absolutely right that, you know, our heart is in the exact right place when we say, yes, you will get feedback, you know, and exactly, Melanie, what you're saying is how that looks will be determined. And I can just share quickly, you know, this goes back to what I said originally about the long lasting effect of these programs and the impact and the community building element. You know, this is one thing that we've also started to implement in other programs, where rejection letter was never a word or a term I liked. It's more about, you know, you're sending an update on the application. You know, you may be saying, look, you didn't get in or you didn't get the funding this time. However, here is what our program is offering. And, you know, we've done this for other programs, and you can see it, that it helps continue the conversation right away. You know, it's not like it's not an end point. And I think that's key.
That is something you said just reminded me as well. I love that you said all that stuff because I also struggle with rejection letters, and in my previous lives definitely tried to make those as personal and tried to call people. But one amazing thing that it actually does is it reminds us of the vulnerability that people experience when they put applications in. It's so easy for us to sit here and be like, just apply. But you do put yourself in a vulnerable position. Every pitch I ever sat through, which was thousands, was that person's coming in there and they're breaking off a little piece of your soul and hoping that you'll accept it. And so I think that, yeah, further to what Lewis is saying, we definitely are not scared of having difficult conversations in hopes of being better ourselves, but helping the community.
Great, thank you. Je vais prendre une autre question en français. À quel niveau il est important d'être à l'aise en anglais? Si notre projet est francophone, est-ce que notre mentor le sera? Et aussi pour l'entrevue d'entrée, est-ce qu'elle sera en anglais? Donc, absolument, si vous êtes moins à l'aise en anglais, il n'y a aucun souci. Nous allons certainement avoir les finalistes avec un mentor francophone. Si le projet que vous voulez développer, c'est en français, certainement. Et je vais juste dire que la plupart de nos séances et de nos lecteurs, c'est quoi le mot, Ingrid? Guest speaker. Je perds mes mots. Conférenciers, merci, seront en anglais, mais on va faire tout ajustement pour avoir des traductions, pour traduire les matériaux, et encore une fois, pour la portion d'avoir un mentor, ça va être avec quelqu'un qui parle la langue. Merci.
We're almost there. We have 11 open. We've answered 79.
I think most of these questions, okay, here. I am in an opposite sex relationship, but I am bisexual. I feel it's strange to have to prove I'm bisexual because I present hetero. I am left with the feeling, is that enough of a marginalized community to apply? I don't know if Deanna or Mel, you want to jump in on that?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, we just say to apply. We can't tell, we can't determine.
Well, I think sorry, Deanna, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Melanie.
Well, I think it is this feeling that some people who are like struggling with this business of like, am I underrepresented enough? Like,
yeah.
It is something that we can't weigh in on. Like I am from an underrepresented group myself, but I have been so privileged in my life. I've been so privileged in my career that if I was a writer and this program was, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if that's the space for me. I think it's about evaluating, is this a space for you? I don't want to discourage anybody from applying. And I do think it is part of the journey that unfortunately underrepresented people have to go on, and it is that traumatic journey. But it's like, I don't know if we can answer that for individuals.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great answer, Mel, at least for me. I was struggling with that. I'm not
what I would say to that is how you identify and how that impacts you personally, and that looks so different to many different people. I was speaking with someone who was a woman who identified as being disabled, but it was, a post-traumatic stress type of situation. And it really had disabled her in her entire life and, her day-to-day, her career and whatnot. And, that's how she identified. So, yeah, I think it would just come down to how do you identify personally.
So let's see here what I'm missing. Okay, we half answered this question, but I think it's worth revisiting. Would it be possible to get a sense of the program's curriculum? Is the cohort working together mostly, or are a range of writers with different goals and experiences following different tracks within the program?
No, I think they'll all follow the same track in terms of the sessions that are made available. But I think where their tracks may deviate is in those peer support situations and the mentorship situations. But for the most part, a lot of what we're going to be offering in the program is going to be like, there'll be elements of it that aren't about the craft. There'll be elements about it that are kind of like not the most exciting stuff. But it's like, it is the kind of, it's elements of the bit of the producing side that we all have to be aware of, whether you're even going to be a writer or a director. So there is elements of it that are everyone's doing it, but then there's just these small little things where you will be on your own and you will have, access to Deanna and myself and stuff like that, where if you feel like you want more of one thing, like we said earlier, we definitely want to make this meaningful engagement for you, and make sure that you're getting the most out of it. Hopefully that answers that.
Sorry, you just caught me in mid-type.
Yes, sorry, business affairs. That is literally the word I was looking for. Oh my God.
Is your application incomplete or ineligible if you do not currently have a finished writing sample? I think we've touched on that already, but no, right.
And I think it's valuable though to mention that in that little period of time in the phase one, like where the readers are doing it and we're confirming eligibility, it's like we're really confirming, are the elements all here? Did like maybe text get cut off in something? And there may be a situation where we find ourselves having to be like, we have to reach out to this applicant to make sure that everything that they intended to be here is here. And I think further to that, now that there's been so much conversation about elements of the proposal, if you've already submitted, I don't know if you actually have the ability to go back and change it once submitted, but if you did want to, that's definitely something we would be open to discussing.
Amazing, thank you, Mel. Question coming in here, I'll throw to Deanna. Will mentors be Canadian or American, and what types of exposure can we expect within the American industry?
Okay, thanks for that question. The whole point about this program and what's different is that we are, everything that we're going to do is to expose the participants to WarnerMedia executives and creators and industry professionals. That's a significant thing about this program. And that said, I think one of the questions came up before, if I think one of I don't know if there's a participant who may require a Francophone mentor. If we are unable to find, we have to be honest about that. If we are unable to find a mentor within all of WarnerMedia that's Francophone, that's relevant to what this is matchmaking, right? It's what you want to develop, how you want to develop as a writer. If we are unable to find a Francophone executive at WarnerMedia, we will be looking at Canadians of, a very executive stature who would be extremely helpful, who know the U.S. industry, who can help that in that way to provide you with a window on what the U.S. industry is like. So in terms of the exposure, I think I missed that rest of that question. In terms of the exposure to U.S. Industry, it's really through the guests that we have, the kinds of conversations that we're having, which are different than they would be here. So that is your exposure and their access to how things are done, particularly at WarnerMedia. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know if anybody else from the team wants to join it, jump in if I haven't answered it properly.
I think that's great. Thank you. I think there's Shirley Yip is asking, would you say that the writing sample is the most important factor in the selection process, or do we have, if we don't have traditional writing credits, that the sample is the most important?
Right, I see what she's saying. Yeah, for sure. But it is, even if you do have writing credits as well, like a jury's going to be looking, if you have been working, as a journalist, but you have been dying to write a, meaty dramatic feature, and you submit that, it's going to be looked at alongside someone who has been writing features potentially, or who has been writing TV. So there is a lot of emphasis for sure on that script, but I just want to reiterate that it doesn't have to be all the things. It doesn't have to incorporate your voice. It doesn't have to whatever. We're looking at them through the lens of like, does this person have a foundation in which we can potentially build on it? Or are they just like incredible enough that we want to bring them in and give them exposure or whatever. So there are a few different kind of ways this script is being looked at. So I think I think that's why we opened it up to spec, because it's like somebody might have the most badass Brooklyn Nine-Nine script that they've written, and that's not necessarily representative of their voice, but it explores the area that they want to be writing in, the space that they want to be writing in. So there is an emphasis on the script, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of context of the factors that are going to be weighed in on that stage.
Yeah, and sorry, just quickly, Mel, that's perfect. I just also wanted to just say, like, the anonymous element of it really, it sets your script into a place where, as you say, like, if it's hitting above the levels that, a committee member is used to seeing, it doesn't matter at all, where you've been with your credits, and I think that's such a smart part of this program, and that I would say exactly what you said off the top. The script matters in every case, credits or not, or just to reiterate.
Oh, you're muted.
I was being so eloquent. How will you ensure, we're down to the last two questions, and I think we've more or less answered one of them. And the second one is, or the last one is, how will you ensure that members from actual marginalized communities are considered? My fear is that some participants will make efforts to force themselves into a box to gain entrance. If you have to question whether you're in a marginalized group, chances are you may be taking space from others who are unquestionably part of said communities.
Well, it is okay. I feel like
this is a hard one.
Well, and it's
hard and easy.
Identification. So we're not, I hear what you're saying, and it's like, how do we ensure this person did come from an underrepresented group, right? And so I think when we put that application out there, we did try to be explicit in terms of what we are defining as underrepresented. And I think it's further to the question that Nicole answered earlier. It's like, it's your personal journey as to whether you identify as being underrepresented as it's defined in this program. And if you are, and you go through that, we are not to say that you are not that person. And I think we are sort of operating from a perspective of, in good faith, you are what you say you are. And we can't get in the business of, being like, oh, you have a neurodiversity. Well, that's different than someone who has this other diversity. We are definitely not going to do that. That's why I think there's such an emphasis on the script. I don't know if that's clearly answering it enough, but definitely just the thoughts I was having.
Yeah, and I think all I want to say on that is that this is something that we are hyper aware of. So it's something that is something that we are very, very aware of, and we're careful about. And I think that's all I can say at this point. But to whoever asked that question, we take that pretty seriously. This program is for, there's a problem in our industry. And this program is about, we can't solve that problem, but we can clear roadblocks for people. We can expose creators from underrepresented communities. So we are really aware of that question that you ask is a really good one, and it's something that we are highly aware of. So I don't know if that helps, but that's all I can say at this point.
Thanks. Also, we've actually answered all of the questions. I'm very proud of us. This is fantastic. There is one comment though that came in from DR, who just made a really great note saying maybe it's about giving feedback to shortlisted applicants, back to that feedback question. So these are all things that we're like, everyone has brought up so many amazing points, and we're still like chewing on a lot of stuff here. So we're taking all of the feedback that we get from this and going back into the hive and then coming out with ways to improve. So
yeah, and I think it's valuable to mention that, like I said earlier, we're not afraid of difficult conversations. We're not afraid of people coming to us to poke holes in what we're doing. I think that that's definitely something that Deanna and I have, in our own careers become like accustomed to a certain extent. So, we're open to the scrutiny. I think this is an avenue for you to come forward with your comments. There's always the line that Nicole's opened up for you to come forward with those inquiries. But further to that, WarnerMedia, this is our first initiative in Canada, and we are definitely talking about how do we engage with the community on their terms and get them to share their perspectives in a way that feels comfortable and feels right for them, that's going to inform our processes. I think I probably sound like a broken record, but like adaptability, being able to pivot, that's totally what we're trying to operate on. So, please do not feel shy. If you feel like it's a safe space to share that information with us, do. We already have a few conversations set up, and I anticipate that will be a few of many that will occur over our time in these positions. But yeah, it's a conversation that we're willing to have, and I really wanted to highlight that.
So I think we're at the end of our session, unless there's anything else.
Any last words from the Academy? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay. Nicole, you feel free to jump in. I'll just say thank you again. I mean, I think this is great that we've spent the last, 90 minutes or whatever it is, answering questions. I know that there's probably many more out there. So I'll just say, don't hesitate again to be in touch. My email's there for anyone who wants to write to me. And I'm happy to respond, even to take a call or whatever it is. And look, again, I'm so excited about this program. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys more throughout this process. And yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys all. Thank you for your questions, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I will answer them the quickest way possible, I promise. And yeah, thanks for all your thought-provoking questions. A lot of things that I'm going to take away after this and really think about when we're working on this program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I guess we're leaving now, right? Okay.